Hello, hello, hello. It's Debbie from Buckeye Homestead, and today I'm going to make zucchini fritters, basically little patties, but I'm going to make them in the air fryer to make them a little bit healthier. So if you have an abundance like I do of zucchini, and we have eaten fried zucchini probably twice a week now for the last 2 weeks, so I thought I would change it up a little bit and we'll do these fritters. Now they are similar in taste, a little different because they have onion in them and there's not any panko breadcrumbs in them, but they're very similar in taste. So if you like fried zucchini, then you'll like this. So the first thing I'll do is I'll cut this and we'll de-seed it and then I'll shred it. So, you know, a normal size zucchini should work. Usually, the recipe calls for 2 cups, so give or take. We'll see what this yields us when we're finished. So I do like to scoop out the insides because I don't like the seeds. All right, I am making a mess. But you can keep the green on, so the peel is okay to leave on. So I kind of scoop it out until it looks like a little boat. And I'll do that with this other side. And we'll shred it and we'll see how much we can get. So we want somewhere around 2 cups. So I like using the air fryer this time of year because it's hot out, your air conditioner is running like constantly. So it's nice to be able to use something that doesn't take up a lot of air space. Okay, so I'm going to shred. I wouldn't shred it too finely, so I'm like using the rougher. If you have a food processor, that would work too. I don't feel like getting it out and doing all those dishes though. I do like to, when I do use it, I like to like make sure I have other things that I'm gonna shred so that I don't get it dirty just for one thing. I do a lot of homemade cooking, but that does not mean, and I love to cook, but that does not mean that I love to do dishes. So I'm sure you're there with me, especially when it's hot out. It's like the last thing I want to do is sit and do dishes. So far I have picked probably maybe 8 zucchini. Right now I have 3 zucchini plants that are producing. I have succession planted more, so I have 2 more that I planted probably 2 weeks ago, and then I planted 3 more a week ago. That way I have zucchini kind of going all summer long. What I don't end up using fresh, I will freeze. Most of the time I just either I'll shred it up like this and then I'll put it in the freezer, and then it's a great binder if you're trying to like keep it low carbs. So like when I'm making meatballs or something like that, this is a great binder. So if I throw it in the freezer, if I remember to get it out when I get out the meat, then I'll use that in there to try to bind everything up instead of using like breadcrumbs. All right, it is all over my hands. All right, let me see how many cups I have. So we're trying to get around 2. I think this is a 2-cup measure. It is. Looky there. So I got about 2. So we're going to throw that in a bowl. I've got this guy dirty. I also want some onion, so we're going to do about 1 cup of onion. I have this onion and I'm trying to use up in the refrigerator. I am a klutz today. normal dicing on it. About a cup. A little bit more off to the side. I like to keep these pieces a little bit on the small end. That way, when I'm eating my little fritter, I don't get big chunks. Let's see what we got. My onions this year are not doing well at all. That's the thing with gardening, is like you really never know from one year to the next what is going to be flourishing and what is not. And this year my onions are not doing too hot. They got so big, and then the tops started to wilt down and kind of look like they're finished. Got close to a cup. Now what's flourishing in my garden, besides my tomatoes, which I'm blessed for that, is my peppers. I have probably 8 peppers that are either regular peppers, which I let them ripen until they're red because I like red peppers. And then I got the mini bells, so there's a mixture in that 8. Then I probably have maybe 5 or so jalapenos and then 5 or so poblanos. And I just, every year, what I don't use fresh, I freeze. I cut up and freeze. So I have like bags in my freezer so that all year round I can pull out peppers if I need them. So I love that. All right. So we're gonna put our squash, our onion, 1 egg, salt and pepper. So the recipe says a teaspoon of each. Of course, you can adjust that to your liking. And then I'll kind of whip up the egg a little bit. I'm gonna stir it. Until it looks like the egg is pretty dispersed. And then we'll add a 1/2 cup of flour. Now I'm using whole white but you can use all-purpose also. I haven't tried it with the gluten-free type, but if you do try it, let me know how it works, because I do go through phases where I try to watch my carbs. Just not right now. But we always try to eat whole wheat. My husband had a heart attack a little over a year ago, so we tried to give up the white, and we gave up sugar. And that hasn't been easy, but then at this point it's kind of not too bad. Alright, so we're going to make patties, so let me feel how this feels. You want to make sure it feels like it's going to stick together. So for me, this still feels a little wet. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. So I'm going to add about another 1/4 cup and see what happens. See if that helps. Because you want it to have a nice firm texture, because if not, it's just going to stick to your whatever you put it in for your air fryer. Yeah, so it's still feeling wet to me. I'm going to put another 1/4 cup. So far I've put a cup of flour in. I would not start with a cup of flour. Definitely depends on how juicy your zucchini is. So, you know, start with a 1/2. This looks a little bit better. And then we're going to get our trays. Let me wash my hands. We'll get our trays and we'll try to get these started. I always start by spraying my trays regardless of whatever I put in there. So if you have a basket, I just happen to have the Power XL has trays, which is nice. And then we're just gonna make some patties. So a little bit bigger than a golf ball, flatten them out, plop them down. They still seem a little wet to me, kind of scares me a little bit, but you'll be here to see the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll find out. I think the original recipe of this, when I first made it, I made it with the yellow squash, so that works out really well too. And I actually fried it in a pan that was pre heart attack. And then the air fryer became very, very important once my husband had his heart attack, because then we really started watching stuff like that. So I'm gonna go wash my hands again. All right, so it's important to make sure that you spray them again, because we're trying to get a crisp on the top. Need to get more. So I'm out of my spray. I don't know if everybody else noticed, but the prices of these have gone up so much since COVID. We only use avocado because it's one of the few oils besides olive oil that does not spike your cholesterol. And of course we're trying to watch that. So I decided that I'm tired of paying that price. So I went back to Mr. Miss Dough. I used to have one of these a long time ago, and it really annoyed me, so I stopped using it and started buying. But with the prices being what they are, I'm going to go back to this. And I use a lot of spray because I use a lot of air frying. So hopefully this will work. All right, so let's head over to the air fryer. All right, so 400, and I will start it out at 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna check it. The ones on the top are gonna crisp before the ones on the bottom, so after 10 minutes I'll uncheck them. I might just rotate them, so we'll check back in 10 minutes. So unfortunately I did not pay attention to how much time was on the timer when I started. So we're going to check them now. As you can see, they're starting to firm up. Feel like they're not jiggly at all. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't know how long they've been in here, but we're going to go ahead and make sure that they stand for at least another 5 minutes. And then we'll check them again. So they are starting to brown on the edge. And just as I suspected they were going to stick. So they're not too bad. They still need to brown. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate these because these aren't as crunchy. And we'll put them in for another 5 minutes. So the other side hasn't browned yet, so I'm going to flip it and spray them and then put them in for another 5 minutes and see how well. 20 minutes, and we see that they're nice and brown. And I will say, because these weren't as dry as they should have been, so it's very important just to make sure that you put in enough flour to make them so that they're, you know, more patty-like. So let's go ahead and try these. Okay. Way easier than making zucchini, fried zucchini, because it doesn't take as much time. Oh, so flavorful. You can taste the onion, the zucchini. Yummy. So, try this. I think you're going to like it. See you next time.